Episode 6 of Syft Data GTM Field Notes.
Welcome to GTM Field Notes, a Syft series where we talk to GTM leaders who are practicing in the field, not just the theory, but not the LinkedIn hype, but workflows, experiments, failures, and lessons that show up in real revenue teams. I'm Imran Patel. I'm the co-founder of Syft Data, and today I'm joined by my friend and marketer co-host, Greg Kennedy. He's founder of YB SaaS, 3-time CMO, and we are talking with my friend Evan Dunn at TitanX, who's leading marketing at TitanX, and we have known each other for a while. I think we met through LinkedIn, which is pretty cool. Evan's currently head of marketing at TitanX. Before that he was leading growth or marketing at companies including Pixies, Rep AI, Airwallex. And what makes Evan such a great guest for this conversation is that his background cuts across the entirety of almost every layer of go-to-market, demand gen, growth marketing, product marketing, RevOps, which is pretty unique. All right, Greg, I think this is a good one because I think you are also kind of a full stack marketer in my book. But Evan, just like Evan, you do creative and data and workflow and everything. So I'm super excited to kick this off.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
So, Imran, do you want me to ask a few questions, or I'm here in my lovely hotel? I hope this looks cool.
Yeah.
I made sure to make the bed. I don't know if you listen to All In podcast, but they're making fun of Jason because he was doing the All In podcast from a hotel, and his bed was unmade. And like, dude, you can't afford the suite. I can't afford the suite. I had to get the standard room. So
it looks very nice.
I think it's 10 out of 10 on Room Rater.
Okay, good. Well, Evan, it's great to meet you. Why don't you just start with just tell us a little about yourself and what you guys are doing over there at TitanX, right? You got the shirt on.
Yes, I do. Yes,
Excellent. Nike branded gear. Sorry, I just noticed that.
It is 100%.
That's cool.
It's very high quality. Nike's sponsoring us, not the other way around. Obviously, they're getting into SaaS. Wouldn't that be fascinating? Yeah, no. Thanks, Greg. I have been in marketing in B2B SaaS for over a decade. Fell into it from content blogging for as a freelancer for a thought leader before it was called a thought leader kind of thing. Back then it was publish your ebook and get a newsletter and a blog going. And then moved through an agency, an AI product before it was AI. We insisted on calling it machine learning in 2016, 2017. We thought that sounded more sophisticated. That has not aged. And then into demand gen at Convoy, Airwallex, a few other great companies, and ended up here. Actually was a TitanX customer a couple times before joining. I was a Syft Data customer a couple times as well. Great product. And
hopefully you'll join us at some point.
That's I guess my trajectory is use it, join it. I think all the topics we got lined up today are perfect because we're all losing sleep over how do we continue to succeed while managing the complexity of introducing AI to workflows without risking those workflows getting worse, which does happen, let's be honest. Either because you spend more time trying to configure it, the dream version that you pictured Claude could do, or because you move away from a structured approach, which you could have had done already. But I'm also very excited about what AI can introduce to a lot of the things we're doing, particularly, where we are analyzing cold call conversations that are recorded, right? The transcripts, and bringing that data back into other workflows. There's so many cool things happening in our customers, happening with us. So there's a lot of different ways we could go with this conversation into specific GTM workflows or overall, what is AI going to do to SaaS? We have some of those lined up, so I'm excited. Where do you guys want to start?
Look, for me, I want to hear more about the specifics where you see AI influencing and changes coming to the workflows that you do personally. Because
Sure.
I think at the highest level, maybe the context of all this is like there's so much hype out there, and like everyone's getting these crazy DMs that like they almost don't make sense. They're like,
Yeah.
"Are you doing agentic GTM?" I'm like, I don't even know what that means, right?
That's right. Right.
So I'd love to just hear from you, like someone who's like at the forefront of all of this, and like you're obviously using AI in your workflows today. Like, I'd love to just get a sense of like for you, where's the real impact like today that you're having, and maybe some of the things that you're excited about but aren't necessarily where you want them to be.
Yeah. Great question. There are two big problems in any what I call opinionated go-to-market. That's outbound and ABM, demand gen type stuff, where you start with a list. As in, if you want to engage a target company, you do a bunch of research, you build a list of contacts, etc. Is the company a qualified fit? Is the contact a qualified fit? And this whole string of things happens. This workflow takes 1,000 different forms in the market, right? A nightmarishly chimeric sort of, hybrid, like, do you let your reps find the contacts or do you centralize it? And if you centralize it, how do you do it? Do you use Clay? Do you use the old pricing, new pricing? Do you have Claude try to find people? Don't do that. There's so many versions of that. And I think what I'm both excited about the ways we've introduced AI into like creating a great list. And then the second piece I'll get to in a second. But I also see so many ways in which it's still a mess, right? In our customer base and the companies we talk to. And so it reminds me a lot of like the evolution of SaaS, where you went from like, wow, software can do so many things. Oh, wait, now we have 80 tools and they're all disintegrated, and you end up with a sprawl. And I think that happens a lot introducing AI into a GTM organization right now, because you have 5 different people building 5 bespoke things, not coordinated, not centralized. I actually think Sendoso is doing this really well. They have a dedicated AI team that owns GTM AI deployments like a product, right? And I think that's where you could bring a lot of power to not messing up different implementations. So that list building bucket is the first bucket where I think AI is an excellent place to at least qualify and research target accounts and contacts, if not also help you with discovery and that kind of thing. And then secondarily is what we should call maybe nurture broadly, follow-up, right? We're all marketers in this room. Nurture kind of got left by the wayside after email systems got really annoying to manage, right? Like you make a nurture cadence, when do you edit it ever again, right? You either turn it off because someone gets annoyed by it, or you just leave it there. And I actually first got clued into the idea here from 2 different sources. One is at TitanX and the cold calling culture that surrounds it. We talk all the time about list, message, rep, follow-up. Those 4 disciplines, right? You make a great list and then all the way through to good follow-up. And most teams really fail on those tail ends, right? They focus a lot on like, what do you say and how does the rep handle objections, that kind of thing. But that follow-up piece is huge. If you have a conversation with someone and they say something like, yeah, in a few months, we'll probably look at other vendors, right? Calendar, date, time, like that's when to call again. And it's incredibly productive if you can monitor and track that. That approach has implications for all kinds of marketing and GTM tactics, including email nurture. Like, why aren't we logging conversations like that, right? Spitting out structured fields, timing, follow-up, message to say, right? What did they say? And moving that around the entire GTM stack for human and automated action. And that's actually what we're doing now. Because the second person I got this idea from was Nick Zekitz. He had a startup called Air Traffic Control, and now he's got Smoke Signals. But he's huge at like personalizing these sort of feedback loops, right? You get research in, and then you produce a landing page that has that research on it, right? It's very doable, not simple. But what we're doing now is we're actually taking cold call conversations to individual contributors. We're asking them what their stack is like, what the pain is like. We're scoring with AI that pain, right? Do they really have a problem we can solve? That surfaces the top accounts based on conversations we've had. And then we're taking that over to landing pages. We're taking that over to human follow-up. And we have this whole loop now that's basically, we call it intel gathering, right? But like we're calling in, getting the data we need, and then going out. And what I'm starting to study now, guys, is like, how much more accurate is that conversation than what the AI tools are giving me on that account, right? As in, should I even bother with asynchronous research on a company rather than just going and talking to someone on the team?
Ooh.
That's where I'm really wrestling with, is like, AI is beautiful for the middle of this loop, but is the human to human touch point still just the North Star of quality and accuracy and depth of insight? Yeah, so there's a lot there, but we can drill into any bit of it that's interesting, but that's some specifics about the workflows we're running.
Oh, you're on mute, Imran.
Somehow I got muted. All right. There are two things that are interesting. So on the list building side, I totally agree. Like across our customer base, we actually do GTM engineering services for them. And
nice.
One of the biggest things we do is like this list building exercise, because everybody's target account lists are,
not great,
not very good. And they're so foundational, but they're not good. And AI can kind of help you like prioritize custom signal, like this list with like better data, better signals, all of that. Like all of that is cool. I think the nurture part and the way you are doing it is pretty unique in terms of calling, especially like how you're like, I guess TitanX is doing it on the calling front. Have you seen anybody doing it better on the other channels, right? Like it's like on emails kind of torched. We actually started doing it on LinkedIn. So we have our own nurture agent on LinkedIn now.
Nice.
But like, do you know, like, who does it better? Like
that's a great question.
The email world.
Yeah. I mean, I think ultimately the whole TitanX philosophy is, right, only 20% of the market picks up the phone, right? And we tell you which sliver is that sliver. So we recommend calling them and using other channels for the other contacts, right? And that's essentially like behavioral preference that people have about like the channels that they interact with, right? So the real question for us is like, what's the best way to get the data? One, essentially to like score, qualify, create the best possible list. And two, what's the best way then to action it? So we actually take the email and landing page approach only if we don't have a super high quality phone number for that person. Otherwise, why bother? Just call them. Have the segment. Hey, I just got off with your team. Oh, really? Like, what CRO doesn't want to hear that, right?
I should put up that meme that we did. Like, we just call them meme. Yeah. I'll present it in a bit, but please keep on going.
Yeah, exactly. And right, exactly. I'm sure you'll follow up with that. Meme was excellent, right? Essentially, what's the name for the middle Neanderthal or
the midwit meme?
The midwit, yeah.
Exactly. Midwit meme is the
yeah. I'll put it up. Like, but please go ahead. Yeah.
Well, it's worth spelling out, Imran, right? Like Gregory, he created a version that was, the low wit is just column, the midwit is workflows, GTM,
yeah, AI analysis. Yeah. Oh my god, yeah.
And then the top one was just column, right?
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. So where you can do that, right? Human to human conversation. And I actually think, like, let's go macro here. Human conversations are going to get real premium where we know it's a human. Like, what's my confidence that you guys are not AI bots talking to me right now? In mid-2026, it's pretty high, right? Like, we coordinated this. We've talked before, like mannerisms still seem detectably human. But I mean, I don't know if you guys heard about, was it like Hyphen AI is a Chinese startup that real-time swaps heads in video calls and does it so effectively that it's being used for scammers. That's where we're headed. We are headed toward the, last week's newsletter, I called it the empire of the inauthentic, right? Like, how are we going? Greg, you mentioned that you got big into like digital security personally recently, right? Like I did as well. But How are
Right.
we going to wade through like voice calls and video calls that might be fake and still know we're not getting BS? Like, and everyone wants me to deploy, I talked to multiple people who are like, Evan, you guys could use voice AI for this and voice AI for this. I'm like, one, not quite on brand. Two, if I create doubt in my prospects that they're talking to a real person, that's a huge risk. Now, we could flag it as really AI. You're talking to an AI, and that's useful, but that's just like me searching the web then. If I'm talking to a machine, I might as well go talk to Claude. How much of a value add is it to introduce voice and video AI in the place of a human? And how much are we going to hunger for human interaction in a universe where that could be happening to us anywhere we go?
Super interesting. Let me just summarize something for a second, because I think we glossed over the list building piece. I just want to make a point that
Yeah, sure.
everyone I talk to, because I think the initial question was like, where's AI real? Where's it emerging? And everyone I speak to in GTM, using AI to do some type of list building enrichment is real. Everyone's using it. There's so many options and so many ways to do it and so many ways to enrich. I would maybe put that one as a check mark. AI for sure has taken over that space, right? It does a great, I'm using it, everyone's using it. There's a million tools, and I think they're all great. I think they do a really good job actually at helping you build a list, find the right people, qualify them, enrich them, whatever you need to do, right?
Yeah.
And then I think this secondary conversation we're having about, okay, artificial content is maybe the high level label, right? AI calls versus real calls, ChatGPT content versus real content, digital content that's fake versus actually talk to a person. I think this is a really interesting conversation. Yeah. And you made a really, I think a good point. It's not on brand for you, right? You're hey, we're all about cold calling, making that work. Does this have a place in what we're doing? Maybe. I think you also answered the question, which is when they identify themselves as an AI agent that's calling you, generally there's a decent response, depending on, I think, the activity that you're trying to do. But I've seen this in customer service use case. It calls you and it's I'm AI and I'm following up on the issue you had with your hardware and blah, 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 blah. I think people actually find that quite useful and perhaps maybe don't want to talk to a real person in that type of scenario. But I like what you. Yeah.
Those are those are transactional scenarios, right? That's transactional calls.
Totally.
Transactional emails are. But I sometimes wonder that even in the sort of the selling and GTM scenarios, it is possible that the world. I think there's a lot of this is just not technology. I think a lot of it is behavior as well, right? Maybe people are a bit more open to talking to an AI than being pressed on by a human seller. Who knows? At some point, maybe the behavior shift happens. Hasn't happened so far, but maybe it happens. I don't know. Sometimes it's just
Evan, have you tested any of this? Trying to do a cold call with AI versus a real person?
Well, I think there are two huge caveats.
Right.
Okay.
And there's one on the list building front we should cover too. But on this front, AI cannot legally place or speak on the phone to an unopted in, right? A cold prospect in the United States.
Oh yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. TCPA robocalling legislation in a couple of years back, they were we just want to make it clear AI is included in robot definitions, which is hilarious. They had to make it because the SaaS founders were going wild with AI. Yeah,
at some point at me and the SaaS founders, just I have used whenever we have done cold calling, we have had and it was a brief period for us of experimentation. We don't do it actively right now. But.
Yeah, it's great to experiment, and there are places for it, right? A PLG scenario can be, you might get a transactional hey, I'm just calling to confirm your appointment, but like you said, there's no discovery or exploration, or you could get a transcription maybe of their problem statement, but you can get that through a web form or it's okay, I think, to envision it there. The other piece is before I get to the other caveat, that the TCPA stuff is pretty serious in a litigation universe. We track this stuff, watch this stuff a lot. There's big lawsuits that come now. The one I just saw yesterday is the ringless voicemail vendors are getting tanked because they tried to argue voicemails are not calls. And you're like, I mean,
yeah, that was going to be my follow-up question. Are voicemails, automated voicemails exempted or no?
The courts just said, yes, this is the same thing, guys. And honestly, why would it be different? Like, really, the question is, what should we allow to be automatically delivered to the phone?
Right. And SMS falls into that as well.
It's harsher in some ways, yeah. And we've all gotten those spam texts. Somehow my name got attached as the owner of a website that I have never even worked for from like 10 years ago, and I have gotten literally 1,000 texts telling me I should get $100,000 loan or they buy it or something. You know, like.
Oh my God! I got a big startup that I worked at. Somehow, I don't know why, my name is on Dun & Bradstreet. Unbelievable. Like I get collections agencies. Yeah. It's insane. I think I called them, they get it removed. I still get like random texts and stuff. Like in some ways it made my like I never answer the phone because of that.
Yeah.
Did they give you a DNB number? That's huge. If Greg Kennedy has a DNB number.
I honestly did not check. I just kept getting these calls and I was like, what is going on? And then I figured out what happened. I think I called Dun & Bradstreet because I was like, why do I keep getting this?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we'll remove your name from the thing or whatever. But like that, once that list was made public, it went into all of these other systems, and so it still shows up.
Yeah.
Like all
and this,
what was the second caveat on list building?
It ties to the data quality issue that surrounds automating everything fully, which can't be underestimated. The second issue is we're a room full of dudes. The universe where you can fake everything is already brutal. Right. For women in ways that probably aren't worth delving into fully. So I worked with a founder actually who really wanted to make video avatar a thing. And I tried to explain that like, there were some cool ideas. Like what if we could have a video avatar of the owning rep of the account that visits the website, chat with them? I was like, this is cool. I don't think any female sales rep will sign up for this. Mm. Even when it was just a dude's avatar, we got such crude, abusive language. Like, let's look at Reddit as the North Star of what happens when anonymity and automation rule the day, right? It's not pretty. Like, something about the fracturing of I'm talking to another human interactions, like when we drive, right? We're so much more prone to road rage because we have these brief, you probably won't ever see me again, transactional interactions. Shelley Turkle, MIT researcher, wrote about this at length in Reclaiming Conversation in 2015, before AI, right? Before anything like this. And she essentially argued that because of the internet and asynchronous communication like text and email, we have traded real relationship and real community for a sense of relationship and community. And I think we're going to see more and more as we get inundated with automation, AI, and the empire of the inauthentic. We're going to see more and more hunger for these genuine human interactions, for real friends, for less internet-based, less I met you on LinkedIn, no offense, right? But like more meaning stuffed back into our days, right? And hopefully that means less smartphone addiction, though I'm sure they'll still find a way to hook us. But anyways.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons. I mean, Greg is big in events right now, right? Like, a lot of people, and I think that's kind of the same thing, right? It's just that, people like all the channels that are working on this, what we call non-scalable channels, like calling. I would put it in that bucket as well. Besides events, and there are but that's where and a lot of the main thing there is just the human to human connection. You have to put in real effort to pick up the phone and have a meaningful conversation with a human than send them like a 5 email sequence. and you have to improvise, right? Like on the phone, like real time, like, just sort of, so so all of that seems to be working better than like, in this, I love this, the empire of authentic framing. Yeah.
If we could prioritize our go-to-market by what has the highest friction with the highest potential for human-to-human interaction, I think, one, you get a better feedback loop. Right. Events, you talk to real people. Cold calls, you talk to real people, and you ask them. This is actually how I got into TitanX in the first place, was for a company that launched a product in the US that really didn't have any business being there. So we had hundreds of conversation across 8 different experimental industries, right? And we disqualified 5 of them. We said, no, there's just not market here. But on the remaining 3, we were booking 5 meetings a day. You don't get that learning from an email thrown into the ether that you hope comes back with a positive reply.
Yeah. This is really a lot of great points here. Yeah,
we should have brought in Evan for like this 2 or 3 hour Dwarkesh Patel.
I know.
Like podcast, or maybe we'll do a part 2. But yeah.
Well, it made me think of you brought up a lot of great points, but it made me think of something very funny. Was like last night someone posted on, I'm big on X, right? Someone posted on X like, do you meet people off of X in the real world? And I was like, all the time. I do it all the time. My entire social life, embarrassingly, is like based off of X. And I wrote back like saying like, hey, if I ever stop posting, you'll know what happened to me, right? Because like I meet people off of X. And I even told my wife the other day, like, I'm going to meet this guy for coffee, the blah, blah. She's like, well, how'd you meet him? I'm like, oh, and I'm on my X account. She's like, she was like, I'm like, I've been meeting people off the internet since the 90s. Like I've done this a million times. And
that's where you anchor the relationship that's going to last, right? Like if you don't meet someone, what becomes of it, right? Maybe an exchange, but people are forgettable if not dialogued with.
Yeah, I never like thought much. I never like thought deeply about it, but generally they use their real name. It's not an anonymous account, right? Like there's some
you have a filter for like what's a.
Yeah, I actually never like thought, because on LinkedIn you kind of have to be the real you, or if there's bizarre accounts in there that don't look real to me, I think most people ignore them. But on other platforms, like you're saying, like on Reddit or X, where like they allow anonymous accounts, there's, it's different how you would approach that, right? Yeah. And so like there are people on there like that they appear like they're using their real name, and that's generally, I guess, the filter that I use. I think to be on those platforms too, like Reddit or X as the real you, already is like a statement in some ways, because you're not an anonymous account, right?
That's totally right. I actually used to use Twitter for marketing back when it was Twitter a lot, and I would actually tweet directly to someone, not a DM, but like a public reply, and just start a conversation. And it worked so well. I raised millions for Kickstarters without any dollars, just tweeting to them, right? Like, and it's funny to watch X sort of come back, right? For a while there, it was so automated. You could auto retweet, you could do all these automations, right?
Yeah.
And it's definitely made a resurgence for certain sectors, like a very human platform. But I also think now we're seeing automated news swamp it, right? Like you have to be very careful about what's in your feed if you want to keep it interaction ready. I would always tell the Twitter team, like, you guys really need to invest in lists. Like the lists feature is how I actually curate my world, right? To the people I want to interact with. But ultimately, Greg, I think what we're talking about is like humans are inherently relational. Our brains think in language. Language requires other people to exist. There is no version of us that is not in need of relationship, right? And dialogue with other humans.
I have a related question. So like, you said like, so we have been just like noodling around this idea of like relationship matter, and like, the channels that are working are like mostly non-scalable channels. But then again, like you're kind of, always bandwidth constrained. So like, what are how do you think about this at TitanX in general? What kind of buyer signals generally you think deserve like, or feed into like a human follow-up? Like what should companies kind of invest in here?
Yeah. I mean, if you're not sure what constitutes a unique fit between your offering and a target account, I would really recommend doing two things. One, get deep into your customer base. Hopefully you have one, right? Like talk to them, study them, like find the patterns. That's it, right? That's number one. And I ask this to, when I work with our customers and prospects on list building, it's the first thing I ask. Do you know what the best fit is? And that should come with things like how long they're going to be a customer and how big the deal size is going to be. And maybe there is a too big, right? You want a sweet spot for velocity and health. And two is go follow Jordan Crawford and study the permissionless value prop concept as a mode of thinking about what a really killer message to a very unique need could look like. Sorry, guys. Cut that out. So those are the two things I would do if you're kind of at square zero and you're not sure like what a great list looks like for you. And the other is you can learn this by being in market and talking to companies. You can reach out on LinkedIn, you can email, you can also and should definitely cold call and ask questions that are very pointed about like, what's your switching appetite? What risk aversion, tech stack currently? When's the renewal dates? That stuff should all get documented, whether it's via notes or recording. You can't always record cold calls. There are some two-party consent states where the other person has to consent as well. But you can take notes, and you should still be taking notes. Manual notes are still a huge asset for AI to pick up and leverage downstream. Like so helpful. I have AI read the transcript where possible and the human notes and combine into a prompt. I use Clay for a lot of these workflows because I love the ability to row by row audit and optimize. And AI excels in really narrow frames. Here's 3 inputs or more, right? Or here's the whole LinkedIn profile, right? Data out. And then here's what I want you to like understand, think through, and turn around. Here's the structured outputs you should produce. And so then I can get like actual CRM fields updated this way, right? There are several tools that are very good at that kind of pass through too. So the second piece of list building, and this is a caveat that Greg, when you brought up earlier, like AI tools in list building, they're excellent for finding companies. The big limitation around context tends to come for those of us who sell horizontal SaaS and require LinkedIn as a database, right? And Imran, you and I know this so well, right? Like LinkedIn doesn't really know what they're doing. They should be monetizing a very robust, high cap API that founders can use to access it, KYC it, right? Like do all the right things, but like let people have the LinkedIn data set. They're just trying, I think, a little foolishly to protect it purely for advertisers' sake. But
yeah, I mean, I think it's recruiting and like they have two-phase business, right? So like it's just recruiting is their main business in a way, and then advertising second, and then they have a sales business as well with Intent and Navigator. So like I think 3 lines of business, and I don't think they all kind of in terms of its incentives of its users, they align very well. So they are in a difficult situation as well.
Sales Nav too is a half-baked product. If I buy their highest version, which we have, it won't export the LinkedIn URL because they want to hide that. Well, then how do I know that this person is only this person? But the reason this is so important, Greg, when people are thinking about building these lists is what else has truly 70, 80% updated employment data of horizontal functions like HR or sales or IT or data, right? Like those teams, no one, literally no one, right? Like there are people.
The only systems that have it are like the HRIS systems. So if somebody comes in and like plugs all of them together, we would have something.
There you go. Maybe like
there is room for a pay style startup that can kind of, just kind of get the...
Whoever figures out how to compete on that front with LinkedIn will be a $1 billion company within 2 years. And everyone who tries is either scraping LinkedIn secretly or trying to recreate it via other websites, which is very partial or only possible for senior leadership, that kind of thing. So we are still in the GTM universe. If you're selling to a horizontal function, you're really still hogtied a bit by what does LinkedIn let you do. And there, you got to think about like which companies have built a really strong relationship with LinkedIn that allows them to pull data that's fresh-ish. Clay deserves a shout out for that. They worked really hard on that. And it's why they will probably for a long time be part of my list building workflows, is because I know that if I enrich a profile, like it's going to be pretty recent. Whereas I would name names, but I'm not going to. There are several other providers who they got booted off or, you know, disconnected, and their data sets are 3 to 6 months stale. We see this all the time.
Yeah.
Like when people start calling the numbers and like, oh, that title is from my last job 6 months ago. Like, you know, it's a huge hidden drain on good list building processes.
So like to circle back to the question. So it seems like for you, like, again, like, you know, to prioritize human follow-up, it all starts with the list. The tighter the list, the better you can kind of prioritize there. And then when you do follow up, like, you know, and Jordan's great as well. Like, you know, everybody should look up his framework. When you do follow up, you follow up with value essentially, so that you can kind of, you know, that's the gist of what I got. I know the conversation.
Yeah, I think I would expand the follow-up to think about, like, you know why those roadside signs politicians use work, right? As the availability heuristic that Daniel Kahneman figured out, right?
Wait, explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, so if you walk into a polling booth, this is what Daniel Kahneman and Emis Tversky demonstrated in the 70s, I think. If you walk into a polling booth having no opinion on a subject, but you have to fill in like your candidate of choice.
Yeah.
And only there's 4 names and you've only seen one of those names before on some random sign somewhere. You will be 90% more likely to choose that name, incredibly more likely to choose the name you've seen before, because you have nothing else to go off of.
Nothing else to go by. So it's like kind of like an awareness and a combination of awareness and recency bias.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Marketers in today's age, I think that's a huge lever for us to pull, right? People are getting saturated with vendors, saturated with things, and we just in one ear out the other. This is one of the reasons I think cold calling is such a good investment. If I have a conversation with someone and it's a good conversation, I will definitely know that name for a while. Or if I see it again, I'll, you know. So what we actually do, Imran, is we actually retarget target accounts. We're calling into them and we're retargeting them with ads. And they'll say things like, I see you guys everywhere. Like, we're not actually everywhere. I can't afford to spend for everywhere. And now on LinkedIn, I'm competing with, like, you know, Gucci bags and stuff that, you know, has no business being there, but whatever. But we can create the sense that we are ubiquitous and well-known, well-established, even when we're sub 10K LinkedIn page followers, right? Like, that's, I think, the goal, is to hover so tightly around your quality account list. And follow-up includes every channel you possibly can deploy, ranked by high friction with high potential of human contact events, and cold calling being at the top. And then on ultimately, like, that combines with your definition of quality account really narrowly and quality person, but that's always going to evolve. So you kind of have to constantly garden those elements, right? And AI is incredible for qualifying things, right? Like, this looks like high quality, this looks like high quality. Find out of these 100 which ones are high quality, and it'll tell you. So yeah.
I think that's the part that I think in GTM people deploy AI at the edge on the other side, like the customer facing side, which actually is probably not its best strength, and like that's not the societal contract is at as well, right? People do not like right now to be kind of contacted by like bots, and there's a lot of like back office thing like qualification, you know, and list building where AI is excellent, but almost everyone thinks of AI in personalization frame. Like, they always think of it from a messaging and, like, you know, and the sort of the that's where the spam cannon comes in. So like it's kind of a it's very jarring that people still haven't sorted that stuff out. That like use it earlier. That's where its strengths are. I think we are at time, Greg. I don't know what, like, I would love for this conversation to just kind of go on for a bit longer and cover some of the other topics. Shall we do a part 2 and like stitch it both together? I don't know what you think, depending on Evan's availability, of course.
Yeah, I mean, we could spend a few more minutes. I probably got 5, 10 before I really need to pivot back into doing the things we're talking about. Yeah, I'm happy to spend a few.
Give him one last question. What's the most burning question you have, Imran?
I think one of the, and I think we can do a part 2 in like in a few weeks. My thing is like, like if you are a growth operator right now, and who has done like, and I know you have very strong opinions about ABM and so on, like who has done things the kind of classical way, right? What you should be doing quite drastically, given like what has transpired in the last 6 months, because there has been an inflection point since the last 6 months in terms of the capabilities of AI. Like, it's more sort of autonomous, can do long running stuff. Like, what would be that one advice that you can give? This is from the just call them meme as well, right? Which is like people complexify things.
Yeah.
So like, how can AI kind of simplify things for them? Or maybe that's how I would phrase it.
Yeah. Everyone's CRM is bloated if they've been in market for longer than 2 years.
Okay.
Make a field that is the summary of everything important to know about a company. Put it on the company object, account object, and use Claude, Salesforce MCP, HubSpot MCP, or Clay, whatever. Lots of different ways to do this, but have it read every field and related object that you can possibly string into it and summarize that company's relationship. Like it so often when you're doing ABM, you're thinking about rules of engagement and what's clean, what's good, what's really a fit or ready. A good instance of this is like a closed lost from 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
What should you say to them? Well, I mean, the answer to that is hidden in maybe even a Slack channel with them, maybe some Gong recordings or what have you, right?
Right.
So AI can absolutely become the sort of data gathering, collecting, distilling point. And ultimately, AI's promise for the universe of SaaS, and in terms of what we're talking about, right, the universe of go-to-market SaaS that we use to go to market, is that it can take fuzzy inputs and make either fuzzy or structured outputs, right? Ready to be read by a human, ready to be sent to a human, or ready to update a strict true false CRM field or a date field or what have you. So think about what is the short list of information that would make and this, you could do this on contact, you could do it on deal, whatever, but what is the short list of information that would make an account ready to be actioned or not? And then do that across all your accounts. And then all of a sudden you'll find you're spending less time annoyed with your CRM and more time moving and acting on the accounts. There's so much time we could unlock for go-to-market teams to do manual outreach or manual calling and all the stuff that, is high potential for engagement and high reward, but is a bit high friction if we weren't battling with data quality issues and like where everything sits. And I have a marketing development rep who reports to me, who's runs through different experiments we do on outbound and handling inbound and closed lost follow-up and that kind of thing. And so often my main objective supporting him is, how do I reduce the amount of time it takes you to look everything up in order to do the outreach? It's very possible with AI to simplify information gathering on a specific entity in your CRM.
Yes, that's a great point. And like, thankfully in B2B, we are blessed with that problem being bounded. Like, for a lot of companies, you just don't have a lot of companies that you have to kind of go through, right? Especially if you're doing ABM, enterprise mid-market, there aren't many, unlike B2C, which is like obviously like much more difficult. And AI is great at that unstructured synthesis into structured. So that's a great tip. And I think like in terms of tooling, you said like, you use Clay for that, like, but I think there are a lot of other things you can do, Cloud Code and MCP connectors now. That's what we do. And then we merge it we have our own MCP now as well. So like with intent data, so we can kind of, synthesize a lot of that together based on like which companies came to the website or engage with us on LinkedIn, so you can take signals. But I think we are at time. This was great. I was left wanting for more, but I always like more, Evan. And the other thing is like the conversation was so rich because there were some angles here that were like really like not well understood. Like, I really appreciated you bringing up like how we are like, there is underrepresentation of certain groups of people, and like, we don't make decisions when we build products with them in mind as well. All of that super like different places where we went. But thank you, Evan. This was great, and excited to reconnect in the future and like jump a little bit more into stuff.
Yeah, we'll follow up once we've done this.